We're going to talk about a tax curve that was called the Laffer Curve, or is called the Laffer Curve. It's a curve that basically looks at a couple of different things. It looks at revenue to government, how much money is coming into government at the various tax rates. And so the bottom axis here is our tax rate. Now, if we tax everybody at 0%, then revenue to government is obviously 0. However, if we tax everybody at 100% of their income, the question then comes, what is revenue to government? And revenue to government, everybody says then is, well, it's 100% of income. Yes, it is 100% of income, but if you're going to go to work today and make $125 for working 8, 9, 10 hours, and the government takes $125, are you going to go to work? And the answer to that's no. So if you're taxed 100%, your revenue to government is 0. When we start taxing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%, then revenue to government starts to go up. When we start cutting taxes from 100% to 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, we start cutting taxes because people start to be able to keep some of their money. Revenue starts to go up because there's less disincentives to work. And somehow, a lot of people think that the standard supply-demand curve or just basic human nature doesn't work for taxation, but it certainly does. Let's say I got a lot of work that I need you to do. So I need a couple hours help, and I'm going to pay you $200 to help me for 3 hours. It's not hard work. I just got to do some filing. Might need you to take some papers and run them to different instructors on campus. Easy stuff. Probably every single person in the class would volunteer 3 hours of easy work for $200. Where can you sign me up? But if your tax rate was 95%, so you made the $200, you're taxed at 95%, that means you get to keep $10. Because you're going to be paying $190 in taxes, I pay you $200, you keep $10. So are you going to work 3 hours for me to keep $10? Most people are going to say no. Maybe there's someone on campus who's bored, has nothing to do, is going to hang out for a night class, and says, well, hey, at least I'm not bored. And so they'll go to work. But for most of us, it's no. So here becomes the big question. Two questions, actually. What is the philosophy of the tax code, and what should we be using the tax code for? Should we be using the tax code to maximize revenue, or should we use the code to influence behavior or punish people who achieve? And so the curve ends up looking something like this. So on this side, as we keep increasing taxes more and more and more, revenue goes up. But at some point, we're going to hit this apex. And we're going to start coming down because there is a bigger disincentive to work than there is revenue to government. And the more you tax and the higher you tax, you're just going to lose more and more. If you've had economics, this is basically your elasticity of demand. And a lot of people who somehow fundamentally think this doesn't exist totally understand it if it's a t-shirt shop. So let's say I run a t-shirt shop down in Newport Beach. I charge $55 for t-shirts. They're not all that great, but they're kind of cool. They got a cool design, but I just don't have enough sales, and I'm just not making any profit. So I decide I'm going to increase my T-shirt price to $75. Am I going to make more profit? Probably not. I'm already struggling selling them at 55. I'm still going to have some T-shirt sales, but I'm going to have a huge drop-off in T-shirt sales, more than my increased revenue, and my profit's going to fall farther. And so then I increase my price to $95 and $115 and $150. And pretty soon I'm going to get to the point that absolutely nobody buys a T-shirt and I have absolutely no money coming in. In the T-shirt shop, it makes complete sense that if you're at the point and you've crossed this point on your T-shirt price, that if you cut T-shirt prices, you will have a lot more sales. And while you make less per shirt, you got so many more shirts being sold, profits go up. And so the question is, policy-wise for government, is where is that apex? Almost all studies have shown that this apex is somewhere around 28% to 33%. What that means is as we increase taxes up to 28%, we are increasing revenue. And then between 28 and 33%, this revenue line flattens out. And by the time we have crossed 33%, we're on the downside, which means there's a disincentive to work. Currently, we are sitting at a 39% high marginal tax rate. If we're sitting at 39% and we raise taxes on the rich, what happens? We get forced further down this curve, so revenue actually falls if we go ahead and put in a 2% millionaire tax. Now, it won't happen right away because individuals need a little bit of time to reorganize, to readjust. But by the time 12 months, 18, 24 months have gone by, we will adjust it and total revenue to government will fall. And this was true for you if you're going to work 3 hours for me and have a 95% tax rate. And it's true for a lot of people in real life. In fact, I was in financial industry for quite a bit, made more money. And when I decided to come to teaching, the question basically was, boy, how's your life going to change? Is it going to change for the better? And if you decide to teach, A, you got to love teaching. So number one reason for me to change careers was because I love teaching. Number two reasons, summer's off. Summer's off is fantastic, quite frankly. But the number three reason that I switched was because I was at a marginal tax rate over 50%. In fact, my marginal tax rate was about 52%. So therefore, when I'm making this switch from private industry, working 60 hours, to teaching and having summers off, 52% of my lost wages I never got to see anyways. They all went to government. And so when I changed jobs, not only did I have less income, but that was fine with me because I readjusted my life, but federal government, state government, local government lost tax revenue. If my tax rate had been maybe only 15% or something like that, it might have been a very different decision that I would have made, and it's quite possible I never would have come to teaching. So when we are looking at this and we decide we want to raise taxes on the rich, by the way, most people define rich as anyone who makes $1,000 a month more than you. That's rich. Because $1,000 solves all your problems, no matter how much money you make, by the way. If you're only making $20,000 a year, $1,000 solves all your problems. If you're making $75,000, $1,000 solves your problems. Because $1,000 gets me a car and makes it so it's really not that hard to make rent. But then what I'm going to do is just adjust my entire lifestyle. So by punishing wealth creation or high income earners, all we do is reduce revenue to government. Okay, got a question? All right. So the question was, if the top federal tax rate right now is 39%, then by punishing wealth creation or high income earners, all we do is reduce revenue to government. Okay, got a question? All right. So the question was, if the top federal tax rate right now is 39%, then how was I paying 52% taxes? That was a good question. 39% right now is the top federal tax rate. And then we're going to add a 2% millionaire tax, so that's going to push 41%. My tax rate was an overall tax rate that included not only my federal rate, but also included state taxes, which California state taxes exceed 10%, so you got to add another 10% onto this. And then it was my own business, so I had self-employment tax. I had to pay Social Security, Medicare, and those taxes also. So that was a good question.